A very good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to class 12th economics. The chapter which we are doing is balance of payment from macroeconomics, and we have started this chapter yesterday, and we have covered some topics of this chapter. So balance of payment account, for the recapitulation for the 5 minutes, balance of payment account, I told you it is an account which records the economic transactions of one country with the rest of the world. For example, whatever economic transactions, financial transactions our country, India, is doing with the rest of the world, all these transactions are recorded at one place. And these are termed as balance of payment account. These recordings are being done in one account, and the account is known as balance of payment account. When we talk about this account, all economic transactions are recorded. But what is all covered under the economic transactions? In economic transactions, we are covering the visible items, which means we are covering the trade items, the goods, which can be seen crossing the borders. So the movements of items can be seen or monitored by the custom officials. Those are covered in the visible items. Same way, the invisible items are also covered. Invisible items means the services. For example, IT services being given, shopping, shipping service, banking service, insurance service. So that is also being covered in the economic transactions. Whatever one country is being doing with the another. So that comes under the invisible items. Then third, which we are covering, is unilateral transfers. Unilateral transfers means one-sided transfers. One-sided transfers means the transfers from one country to another, but unilateral transfers. For example, in the form of gifts, grants, personal remittances, or any other remittances, any other transfers, that comes under also the economic transactions. And the fourth thing which is recorded in BOP is capital transfers. For example, capital goods or capital assets and liabilities being exchanged among the countries, that is also coming under the economic transactions. So when we are talking about the economic transactions, these transactions are included in the BOP as an economic transactions. We discussed the structure of BOP also. If we discuss the structure of BOP, when we discussed it, I told you that there are two sides, credit items as well as debit items of BOP. Credit items of BOP means where the money is coming into the economy, and debit side items of BOP means where the money is being paid outside the BOP. So debit items means credit items means which leads to inflow of foreign exchange, and debit item means which needs to outflow of foreign exchange. So that is the credit item and debit items of BOP. So in the credit items, what all we are recording? We are recording export of goods, export of service, unilateral receipts, capital receipts, because from all these transactions, the foreign exchange is coming into the economy. But what will be covered in the debit side items of BOP? In the debit side items of BOP, we are recording import of goods, we are recording import of service, unilateral payment, and capital payments. That is being covered in the debit side items of BOP. I hope this is clear till now, because till this topic we have covered in yesterday's class. Now, let's move to the other topic. And the other topic is trade, which you will find, which you will observe, that is coming just from this structure of BOP only. So this structure is very, very important, which you are just watching on your screen. This structure is very, very much important, because according to this structure only, all the questions would be solved out, right? So this structure you should have to learn, and you all have to keep in your mind, because this structure will lead to, give you all the answers related to all the concepts. So balance of trade, just have a look at the point which I am annotating. See this, which I have just annotated. See this. I have annotated export of goods and import of goods. Export of goods and import of goods. Let me tell you, this is the concept of balance of trade. Balance of trade. Balance of trade means export of goods minus import of goods. But question arises, why in trade we are taking this export and import of goods? Because trade refers to the balance of visible items. Trade visible items का होता है, and visible items means merchandise items. Merchandise items are here goods. So export of goods minus import of goods. Export of goods minus import of goods. That is the trade. This is known as balance of trade. So if a question arises, what is balance of trade? You will simply write it as balance of trade is the export of goods minus import of goods. Simple. Balance of trade is export of goods minus import of goods. That is known as balance of trade. Is it clear? ये point clear हुआ? Export of goods minus import of goods. That is balance of trade. Now, question arises, what is the difference between balance of trade and balance of payment? अच्छा, अब ये balance of payment क्या है? तो I think मुझे balance of payment दोबारा बताने की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि ये जो हमने किया है, this is all complete balance of payment. ये अगर complete देखें तो this is balance of payment, blue line complete. This is balance of payment account, but the red line which you are seeing is balance of trade account. Now, if we have to write at least 3-4 differences between balance of payment and balance of trade, what I am going to write? Can you people guess what we can write in the difference between balance of trade and balance of payment account? 1 or 2 differences are very easy and quite straightforward, which we can just observe from the structure of BOP only. That balance of trade refers to only export of goods, the difference between export of goods and import of goods, right? As Shaurya said, BOT includes only visible items. Balance of trade, you can see it includes only visible items, the export and import of goods. But what about balance of payment, BOP? BOP include all the items. BOP include visible items, invisible items, unilateral transfers, as well as capital transfers. My point is clear? BOT, balance of trade, only includes visible items, whereas balance of payment includes all the items, whether that is visible item, that is invisible item, that is unilateral transfer, or that is capital transfer. I hope this is clear. Now just let me know one thing, which is broader, which is narrower? ये बताइए मुझे, कौन सा कॉन्सेप्ट इसके अकॉर्डिंगली ब्रॉडर कॉन्सेप्ट हुआ, एंड विच कॉन्सेप्ट विल बी द नैरोअर कॉन्सेप्ट? Broader and narrow concept, of course, balance of payment, that is the broader concept because it includes all the items. But when we talk about balance of trade, that is the narrower concept. That is the narrower concept. So I think 2 differences though is clear to everybody now, right? More differences we will just study with the time, with the other topics as we are moving forward. Okay, let's move further. In economic sense, there can be 3 types of BOP or 3 types of BOP balances: balanced BOP, surplus BOP, and deficit BOP. What will be balanced BOP? Balanced balance of payment, which means where I will simply say that balanced BOP refers to where the receipt side of BOP is equals to the payment side of BOP. Clear? Balanced BOP. Balanced BOP refers to where the receipt side of BOP is equals to the payment side of BOP. That is balanced BOP. And what will be in the surplus BOP? Surplus BOP will refer to where the receipt of foreign exchange is more than the payment of foreign exchange. which means the credit items of BOP are more than the debit items of BOP. That will be the surplus BOP. And what about the deficit BOP? Deficit BOP क्या होगा? Deficit BOP will refer to where the debit side of BOP is less than credit side of BOP is less than the debit side of BOP, which means where we say that the receipt of foreign exchange is less than the payments of foreign exchange. That is deficit BOP. I hope this is clear to all of you. So in economic sense, we can clearly say that BOP can be balanced in three ways: balanced BOP, surplus BOP, deficit BOP. What is the balanced BOP? Balanced BOP means where the receipt side of BOP is equals to payment side of BOP. Surplus BOP, where the receipt side of BOP is more than the payment side of BOP. And deficit BOP, where the receipt side of BOP is less than the payment side of BOP. Clear? Moving further. Balance of trade. I have just already explained that balance of trade is the difference between the amounts of exports and imports. Balance of trade is the difference between the amounts of exports and imports of visible items. ठीक? तो balance of trade क्या है? Balance of trade is equals to export of goods minus import of goods, which is X minus M. X for exports and M for imports. All right. So balance of trade, if comes in one mark, that what is balance of trade? Balance of trade is the difference between export of goods and import of goods. That is exports minus imports. Now, what will be the surplus BOT? Surplus balance of trade क्या होगा? Simply when exports are more than imports, that would be the surplus BOP. Why? Surplus means profitable BOP. When exports are more, which means more income will be generated than what I have to pay. So that is surplus balance of trade, where export of goods is more than import of goods. You know, this is also known as favorable balance of trade. इसको हम favorable balance of trade भी बोलते हैं. Why favorable? Because it is in the favor of our economy, that we are generating more income out of that. What will be deficit BOP? Deficit means loss BOT. Loss BOT means where we simply say that import of goods are more than exports of goods, or we can say where export of goods is less than the imports of goods. तो यानी कि exports कम है, imports ज़्यादा हैं, बाहर से ज़्यादा खरीद रहे हैं, we have to pay more, which means that is the unfavorable balance of trade. Unfavorable क्यों? Because it is not in the favor of our economy. We are importing more, means more money, more foreign exchanges moving out. And third is balanced BOP. Balanced BOT क्या होगा? Balanced balance of trade refers to where the value of exports equals to the value of imports. जहां पे value of exports और imports same रहते हैं. That is known as balanced balance of trade. It's clear to all of you. Three types of balances in the balance of trade along with the definition. Now moving further. Let us see the difference between the balance of payment and balance of trade. Difference करते हैं जरा. Balance of payment का और balance of trade का. First, on the basis of meaning. See, on the basis of meaning, it's very clear to explain the balance of payment. That balance of payment basically refers to the complete account which records all economic transactions, which records all economic transactions of one country with the rest of the world. So that is simply clear that it is a systematic record. It is a systematic record of all transactions. ये एक systematic record है सारी transactions का which we are doing with the rest of the world. ये सारी transactions इसमें आती हैं जो हम कर रहे हैं with the rest of the world, which our economy is doing with the rest of the world. Clear? Then balance of trade. What will be balance of trade? Balance of trade is the statement. Which statement? Showing the net effect of exports and imports of the country. Balance of trade क्या show करता है? It shows the net impact. Net effect मतलब difference between what? Difference between two things, export of goods and import of goods. So you have to see to it that whenever we are saying what is balance of payment is the systematic record of all economic transactions that take place between one country with the rest of the world. But when we explain what is balance of trade, it refers to the difference of export of goods and import of goods in a country. All right. Second, on the basis of nature of transactions recorded, like what kind of nature of transactions are recorded in BOP. I told you BOP records both the transactions related to goods and services. It records both the transactions whether related to goods and services. All transactions are being recorded in the BOP, but balance of trade records only, it records only the transactions relating to merchandise items, that is goods, which means balance of trade does not record the transactions related to service. It records the transactions only and only related to goods. All right. Then what about the third? Third is the capital. Third is the capital transactions. Capital transactions means you all know that capital transactions refers to the transactions related to assets and liabilities. When we are saying assets and liabilities, which means by which transactions the assets and liabilities of the country can be affected. For example, if we are talking about borrowings, then liabilities are increasing for the government. If we are talking about reduction in assets, then assets are moving out. So any transaction which takes place in the economy affecting the assets or liabilities of the country, that belongs to the capital transaction. Balance of payment, yes, it records the capital transaction, because balance of payment mein to all four types of transactions are recorded. But what about the balance of trade? In the balance of trade, it does not record the capital transactions. Balance of trade में capital transactions की recording नहीं होती. Let us see the next structure. The fourth is the structure. Structure means what it is all about. See, balance of payment is broader term. It is broader. It includes balance of trade. है ना? Balance of payment is a broader concept, so it includes balance of trade. But balance of trade is the part of balance of payment account, right? Balance of trade is the part of balance of payment account, because this is the narrow concept. BOT is a narrow concept, so it is the part of BOP. But BOP is a broader concept because balance of payment includes balance of trade. Balance of payment is a complete account. It includes the visible item transactions account also. But balance of trade is a separate account. It's a part of the whole BOP. So we can say balance of payment is a broader concept, whereas balance of trade is a narrow concept. Let us see what is the difference on the basis of net position. कि नेट पोजीशन क्या होती है इन अकाउंट्स की, जरा नेट पोजीशन के बेसिस में हम लोग सर्च करते हैं, देखते हैं जरा. Net position. Balance of payment is always remains balanced in the sense that receipt side is equals to payment side. जो balance of payment account है, that is the complete accounts based account, right? So that will always balance. The receipt side will always be equals to payment side. You all have studied the NPO in accounts, not for profit organizations, where you must have prepared the receipt and payments account, incomes and expenditures account. There always the receipt side of the account is equals to the payment side of the account. Always the receipt side of the account is equal to the payment side of the account, right? So obviously the net position of BOP will be that it is always equal. It is always equal, like the receipt side is equals to the payment side. So BOP always balances. But what we talk about in the BOT, balance of trade में हम क्या बोलते हैं? It may be at favorable BOT. अभी पीछे पढ़ा हमने last slide में. When there will be the favorable BOT, please write in the chat box. When there will be the favorable BOT, favorable balance of trade, when it will be there. Favorable balance of trade. Very good, Saksham. I want answers from all of you. Favorable balance of trade. Very good, Tanmay. Anmol, Vaibhav, Priyanshi, Anirudh, Harshita. Very good. When exports are more than imports, that is the favorable balance of trade. And unfavorable can also be there when exports are lower than the imports, or even BOT can be in favorable in equal state also. Equal state means exports are equal to imports. So BOP to will always be balanced, but BOT, balance of trade, can be equal, can be favorable, or even can be unfavorable, right? See, the difference on the basis of indicator of economic status. Do you think that balance of trade will indicate the economic status? No. Balance of trade, it is not a true indicator of economic prosperity and economic relations of a country. If we want to know about the, if we seriously want to know about that what is the true status of economic indicator, so we'll talk about the balance of payment. That balance of payment account is the true indicator. Balance of payment is the true indicator of economic performance of the economy. ठीक है? So indicator economic status, it's clear to all of you. On the basis of indicator of economic status, which shows the economic status as a true indicator, of course, balance of payment. But balance of trade is never ever the true indicator of balance of economic transactions. All right. This last point will be covered in the next slide, in the next further slides, when we'll be talk about the unfavorableness. I hope this is clear to all of you. Shaurya, your question which says how balance of payment is always balanced. This answer will be clear when we will study about the last topic of this chapter, that is autonomous and accommodating transactions. That question is the answer to your question, that how balance of payment is always balanced. Like when you make the that profit and loss account of a sole proprietor, it is always balanced at the end by the way of either surplus or deficit, right? When you make the balance sheet, it is always balanced. How it is balanced? By the way of profit and loss account, right? Or any other item in the balance sheet. So same way, this account is also always balanced, balance of payment account, by the way of autonomous and accommodating transactions, which is the last topic of this chapter, which we will study. So is it clear to all of you? Let's move further. Okay, moving. Balance of payment has two types of accounts: current account and capital account. Current account and capital account. Again, let me tell you, this question, this topic is also again based on this structure of BOP only. अब देखो स्ट्रक्चर से ही आंसर निकलेगा इसका, कौन सा करंट अकाउंट है और कौन सा कैपिटल अकाउंट के अंदर है. देखो स्ट्रक्चर से निकल के आएगा. लेट अस सी हाउ. करंट अकाउंट ऑफ बीओपी, मैं मार्क कर रहा हूं जरा करंट अकाउंट ऑफ बीओपी को. रुको थोड़ा और उसको बोल्ड कर दूं. सी, these items are the current account of BOP. These items are the current account of BOP, and these items are simply the capital account of BOP. Very simple. Nothing more you have to do. It's very, very simple. The items which are related to the capital nature transactions, the items which are related to the capital nature transactions, that is capital receipts and capital payments, that comes under the capital account of BOP. But the transactions which doesn't belong to the capital nature, like export and import of goods and export and import of service, unilateral transfers and receipts, that belongs to the current account of BOP. So there are two types of accounts in BOP, two components of BOP, I would say, two components: current account, capital account. Current account of BOP involves all such transactions which are of current nature, which does not include the items of capital nature. But capital account of BOP involves all such transactions. Capital account of BOP involves all such transactions, which includes the capital nature transactions. I hope this is clear to all. So अभी यही क्लियर हो गया हम लोगों को. यहीं से हमने आगे पढ़ना है कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ बीओपी, जो मैंने अभी स्लाइड निकाली थी. लेट अस कम टू अगेन दैट करंट अकाउंट एंड कैपिटल अकाउंट. So what all is included in current account? See, what all is included in current account? In the current account BOP, what all we are including is, we are including, of course, visible transactions. We are including invisible transactions. We are including unilateral transfers, and we are including investment incomes. मतलब सारी current nature की transactions we are including in the current account of BOP. But what we are including in the capital account? In the capital account, we are including capital receipts and capital payments. Capital receipts and capital payments. Capital receipts like borrowing capital receipt हुई, lending capital payment हुई, लोन देना. इन्वेस्टमेंट टू मतलब अब्रॉड किया तो पेमेंट हो गई, कैपिटल पेमेंट, क्योंकि हमारी एसेट बढ़ गई. यहाँ इन्वेस्टमेंट फ्रॉम एफडीआई मिल गया हम लोगों को, तो वो हमारी इनकम हो गई, वो कैपिटल रिसीट हो गई. यहाँ एक और आइटम पढ़ेंगे हम, चेंज इन फॉरेक्स रिजर्व्स, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रिजर्व्स चेंज हो गए. So these are the components of BOP, current account and capital account, and further these parts are the components of current account and capital account कि इनके अंदर क्या क्या लिखा जाता है. तो बस वो 4 इकोनॉमिक मेजर ट्रांजैक्शंस याद रखो, स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ बीओपी याद रखो, उसी के बेसिस पे आपका पूरा समझ में आ गया कि करंट में क्या जाएगा, कैपिटल में क्या जाएगा. इन द करंट अकाउंट वी विल इंक्लूड ऑल करंट नेचर ट्रांजैक्शंस लाइक विजिबल आइटम्स, visible transactions, invisible transactions, unilateral transfers, and investment incomes. But in the capital account, we will all include as borrowings and lendings, that is capital receipts and capital payments. Clear? Moving further. So, what is in the current account? Again, let me tell you all what is in the current account. Current account includes all such transactions which are related to the current nature, like visible items, invisible items, unilateral transfers, and investment incomes like rent मिला, interest मिला, profit मिला. अगर आप investment income भूल भी जाओ तो first 3 तो याद ही रखो current account के. Visible items transactions, invisible item transactions, unilateral transfers. क्या होते हैं? We have already studied in the structure of BOP. Then what is included in the capital account transactions? In the capital account of BOP, we include all such transactions which are related to the assets and liabilities of the government, which either create asset or reduces liability, or it reduces asset or creates the liability. For example, borrowings, जो हमने capital receipts में पढ़े थे, receipt from sale of land, receipt from sale of any fixed asset, lending to other nations means loan देना. So this is all included in the capital receipts and capital payments, which is the component of capital account of BOP. Now let us see the difference. What is the difference between capital account and current account of BOP? The current account transactions brings a change in the current level of economy. The current account transactions bring a change in the current level of economy's income, which means it is related to the transfers. It is not related to the capital of the company, of the country. But capital transactions bring a change in the capital stock, means assets और liabilities को affect करती हैं वाली transactions. ठीक है? जो current account transactions है, this is a flow concept, but capital account transaction is a stock concept, because ये आपके एक तरह से stock को बिल्कुल change ही कर देती है. Current account के components क्या क्या हुए? Visible trade means goods, merchandise items. Invisible trade means services. Unilateral transfers. Unilateral transfers means one-sided transfers. But what is all included in capital account? Capital receipts and capital payments, such as borrowings and lendings to and from abroad, उधार देना abroad में या उनसे लेना, इन्वेस्टमेंट बाहर अब्रॉड में करना या उन लोगों से हमें इन्वेस्टमेंट मिलना, क्योंकि एसेट और लायबिलिटीज से बेस्ड हैं चीजें. एंड लास्ट बट नॉट द लिस्ट, चेंज इन दी फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रिजर्व्स. फॉरेक्स के अंदर चेंजेस होना, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज के अंदर चेंजेस होना, दैट कम्स अंडर एज अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन करंट अकाउंट and capital account. I hope this is clear to everybody till the concept, because only one topic is almost left. This chapter is almost over.